Relationships can be very, very tricky. And if you're not careful, you end up in a place that you never thought you would be with your quote significant other. Now, what I'm going to talk about today is what I coined as the seven gates. It's a long-term relationship framework that has been proven over time. I even had to utilize it myself first to prove that I can sustain a long-term relationship based on this process. Now, you may be thinking, why do I need a process in order to select the person that I want to settle down with? Well, that's exactly what you need, because in my observation, we get hung up in certain areas, and mainly gate number one or step number one, which is all about the looks. So today I'm going to talk to you about the seven gates in this relationship framework, but I'm only going to talk just about gate number one. This is the first of a 7-part series. But before I do that, I'm going to show you the video that I posted on social media that's actually led up a little bit of stirring up some of the frenzy here. So let's watch the video. First of all, Brandon Science here with League of Prestigious Gentlemen. We are an organization that is centered on purporting the male advocacy, but also the gentleman-like traits down to the younger generations, and for those who want to learn no matter what age you are. This is not about ethnicity. This is all about men becoming the men that we're supposed to be. And I have observed that everyone that I've spoken to has a thought process in terms of their relationship, and they want to be in a relationship. So my thing is, why not do it right the first time? That's the question you should be asking yourself. Why not do it right the first time? Yes, you may have your opportunities where you meet up with someone and you're just getting the experience, but when you're really ready to settle down, I would say this: it is a requirement that you also start vetting the person effectively and correctly. That's why we have the 7 gates. So let me show you the video. It's about 1 minute and 40 seconds long. I'll show you the video first as part of the process. Now, all the long form videos, I might not show the video that stirred up a little frenzy, but I'm going to show you this one here because I'm going to expound on some of the points, and I'll be right back with a presentation or some slides to also have you get a deeper understanding. What I like to do is when I am in the teaching mode or the advice giving mode, I like to utilize our 3 learning styles: audio, visual, and kinesthetic. So I will be talking about all 3 in the video because that's the best way for us to learn. So let me show you the video. Here's the audio visual piece of that. All right, here we go.
Here's something you were never taught about relationships, and it's a strong reason why your past ones failed. Research shows that the average lifespan for a relationship is only 2 years and 9 months. And if you want your future relationship to last longer, cool, listen up. There's a 7-step process in choosing the right long-term companion, and most of us get overstimulated at step number 1, or what I call gate number 1. I call this vetting framework the 7 gates, because you have to go through each one successfully to get to the next. Let's dive in. Step number 1 is all about looks, or the attraction you have for the other person. Whether you like it or not, men are very visual when we first see a woman. And at the same time, women are too. But how they see each other, massively different. Men tend to initially see women in parts: pretty face, nice breasts, perfect glutes, smooth thighs. You get the point. Women tend to see men as a whole. That's why they look you up and down when they first see you. They'll see your face, of course. Then they'll look at everything you have on as the total package. Now here's the deal. Neither one is wrong. They're just different. But here's where most of us get it wrong. Attraction doesn't tell you how he or she handles pressure, what he or she values, what problems he or she brings, etc. Attraction only tells you one thing and one thing only. You're interested, nothing more. So if you get caught up on the person's looks and base the success of your long-term relationship only on attraction, it's bound to fail. And that's where step 2, or gate number 2, comes into play. So stay tuned for the next video. In the meantime, let's keep it LPG.
So there's the video. And this video, again, talks about gate number 1, and that's what we're talking about in this conversation. Now, I don't know a man alive that doesn't want to have a pretty woman by his side if he's in a relationship. No one goes out to seek someone that is ugly, right? Let's be truthful about it. So what does happen, and what we do is we see a woman, and then next you know, the natural instinct takes over. Each one of us has a certain symmetry. We have a certain skin color, a certain walk with the woman, how she moves that we like. And that initially starts with, well, sometimes, I'll explain a little bit later on, initially starts with how the person looks. Now, when it comes to the other aspects of gate number 2 through 7, I will be expounding on those in a long-term video, a long-form video as well. But this one here, attraction, is very, very key for us guys. We're very, very visual. When we see a woman, we get a little enthralled, and we get sometimes even taken back, depending on how beautiful she is. It's like, wow, that's a beautiful person. Now, younger men, we have a certain thought process when we see a woman. Of course, there's testosterone flowing, and there's all the other things that come about with that. But as you mature, you can see a man tends to be able to see a beautiful woman, and then he's not as hot and bothered per se as he may have been in younger years. And that comes with experience, it comes with life, and it comes with some biological things with certain people. But the mindset is still there. Attraction is very, very key for men and women. And we see each other quite differently during this point of attraction. But what happens most of the time is that we get caught up on the attraction, and that takes over for our selection process. It should not take over for our selection process at all. It's just one gate that we go through, and then that's the one gate, besides copulating, separating that one gate from all the other gates in order to make the right choices. Because the other ones, outside of the attraction, the initial looks of the person for you that you like, all the other gates have this other significant component that have some very, very strong decision-making points. But back to gate number 1. This is one of the easiest ones that we can go through, but it's one that we make the biggest mistake in. I'll say that again. Gate number 1, the looks, the attraction, is the easiest gate to go through, but it's where we make the biggest mistake for deciding long-term, future stating here, long-term relationship. This is where we get hung up. Let alone if he has the opportunity to see her in her bare form, her birthday suit, and then they copulate, then that's another aspect of the selection process where some men make the long-term decision on how it feels, and that is the wrong way to make the decision for long-term success. So let's dive into what we're going to be talking about here. I'll show you some slides here as we go along. First of all, we weren't taught how to choose a partner. And I know I wasn't, and every other person I spoke to regarding process over the past 3 or 4 decades, because I've been asking people about relationships or even observing people about relationships since I was younger. And I've recently started teaching opportunities like this over the past couple of decades. So this has and I've developed this framework, the 7 gates framework. It's very, very important to understand that because you are a person, you are going to be in and out of different environments, and you're going to see people that you like, you'll see people that you are attracted to. This is why I came up with it, because this is where most of us, my conversations having with men, gentlemen, guys, young men, is at the selection part right here is where we get hung up. And no one, and if I ask them, hey, were you taught how to relationship? Well, no, we were taught how to treat a woman. And I asked the women have it even worse. They weren't taught how to cooperate and understand men. Most men, we go to women in order to have or spark the conversation as we're wanting to get to know the person. We're the ones that initiate the contact most of the time. There are some anomalies out there. There are some women that understand how to drop their proverbial handkerchief and have a guy who she's attracted to come over to her. That's another skill set that women need to learn how to develop. They don't pretty much do that nowadays. We'll talk about that later on. But no one that I know was taught how to choose a person. So what did I do? I had to think about this methodically. I had to think about what happens in terms of the relationship as we're going through this period of time. What happens for us to get to the point that I can deal with this person? What makes us say that? And there are, again, these 7 gates, but the one that we make the biggest mistakes is here. So most people don't fail in relationships, they fail selection. And if you fail selection, this is where it could get all bad. So let's keep going on. And as I stated in the video, the average relationship is almost 3 years, 2 years and 9 months, research has shown. And that's not random, that's poor vetting. The only reason why a relationship would last only 2 years and 9 months is because the vetting process, or lack thereof, had a strong contributing factor of why it didn't last. Now, all things being equal, the two are attracted to each other, and they're even, of course, they're raised in different households. They even have the same likes and the same drives and whatever else. And then let's say that there's a coming together. There's still a selection process that we get hung up on, and that's where we have missed it. And so here's the 7 gates. And again, we're going to talk about number 1. Number 1 is just attraction. It's all about looks. It's the entry point. There's 0 long-term predictive value here in this one. And in fact, if you want to know more about all 7 gates, including the action items of how to go through each gate successfully, download this ebook I have right here. We call it a Gentleman Guide. It's called The Gentleman's Guide to Relationship Vetting. If you want to have a long-term relationship with the right person, go to leagueupperprestigegentleman.com/7 gates and you can download it today. All right. That being said, understanding that attraction, gate number 1, that it's just the opportunity for walking. Actually, it's the doorbell. It's just the ringing of the opportunity that's at hand. And it gets your attention, but it doesn't require, and it shouldn't require, your commitments. It should require your long-term commitment, put it like that, because you might decide to commit to a second interaction with her. You both decide that. And next thing you know, you're on a date of sorts, and now you're going through some of the other processes. But I know for sure, and I've been there before. I was out with a lady, and next thing you know, I'm very enthralled with how she looks. Most guys like beautiful women. And it's hard for guys to turn down or even see the red flags, because the looks has such a captivating, or is such a captivating force of a man's attention, and now things can get skewed. Things don't go according to the process, the long-term process that should be made and should transpire for correcting what may transpire in terms of being wrong later on. So the looks acts as this barrier to decision making. And we can't let the looks act as a barrier. That's why later on we'll talk about separating the feeling of the looks. So you see them, you feel something, right? And that's where most of us get our initial spark in the relationship. But that feeling only means one thing. It just means that you're interested. That's all it does. It just confirms that you have some sort of interest in the woman, or confirms you have some interest in the man. If you're a woman watching this video, you have the visual input, we have the stimuli, brain goes haywire, some things happen in the body. Guess what? It's a biological response oftentimes. Ooh, eyes get big. Some other things happen perhaps. And then that just says, hey, interest. There's interest based on all the looks that this person has that culminate into attraction. That's the only thing. Different lens, same output, tells you absolutely nothing about long-term viability. And that's where we get hung up, because we start making decisions, short-term and long-term decisions, based on how someone looks. So we confuse chemistry with compatibility. They're not the same. The illusion that we're chasing the spark, we have the chemistry and there's a visual and surface desire for that. But the substance we don't know about, cultivating standards, compatibility, character, and discipline, we do not know that yet. Even on the first date, you may not know that. Second date, you may not know that. Some things start to show as you're having more and more interactions. And this is where we have to be extremely observant, hearing and seeing, is this person who they say they really are? That goes for both men and women. So if we look at at how attraction does not reveal what sustains a relationship, gate number one will never show their values. It won't show their discipline. It won't show the problems they bring into relationships. It won't show the baggage. It won't show the emotional turmoil that they may have had over the years. They may not show or even represent some of the things that needs fixing internally inside them. It doesn't show any of that. So that's the danger of getting caught up and making decisions solely on attraction. But there are many, many people that make decisions solely on attraction. And in fact, it creates a barrier to see the red flags if you're caught up on it. But the gentleman has to be disciplined, and a woman has to be disciplined to move that out of the way at the right time. Not let that be a deciding factor on whether or not we move forward. The person can look good, very, very nice, but be very nasty and chaotic inside. And that is what we call the devil in disguise. And we don't want that in a long-term relationship because it is not sustainable. So what we have to do, again, is remember that the gate number one is just the doorbell. It's not the decision. The purpose of attraction is to open the door. It is not to invite them to the altar. It's not to invite them to move in. It's not that time yet. You can never, ever, ever judge that with the initial interaction, especially because you are attracted to the person. You might have, which I don't believe much in, you can differ in opinion, you might have love at first sight. Captivating. The feelings are explosive inside. A number of things happen to the body physically. And there's this wanting to come together. For a guy, we want to copulate as soon as possible. For a woman, she wants to make sure you are the right one. Quality versus quantity in this aspect. Rightfully so. Men and women, we're different. And we approach these 7 gates slightly different, but there's still the adjustment that needs to be made for both people, the man and the woman. Slightly different. As I mentioned in the video, men, we initially see women in parts. Women see guys as a whole. When most guys will see a woman, the face is there, of course, but sometimes the body gets a little bit more attention than the face. Then we look up to the face like, oh, okay, is she attractive or not? Women tend to see that as the man as a whole, and start judging on opportunities like status, power, money, those sort of attraction values for a woman. A gentleman is going to be more like, is she dressed in a conservative, classy manner? She's not showing too much cleavage, not showing too much thighs, definitely not showing what's out there nowadays. Women wear shorts and skirts so small, so short that you can see the bottom parts of their glutes. It's not, gentlemen won't look at that and think, I want to be with that long term. They may want to copulate and that's about it, but other than that, it's not going to be long term. And most guys are like that as well. So there has to be some sort of filter. And as you get older, men, we develop a filter. Our values change, we get more mature, and so we see the woman that is very much so needy and attention, and that doesn't tickle our fancy per se, not anymore. And perhaps when we're younger, we may have given that some attention, but again, only resulting in one thing and one thing only, and that's just to sleep with her most of the time and then oftentimes move on. But we get caught up sometimes in the looks. Again, this is not the deciding factor. This is just the knocking at the door. And so if you don't shift your process, this is why we want to understand or have a process. If you don't shift the current way that you're doing or selecting a mate, guess what? You're going to repeat the same mistakes. Think about all your past relationships. Think about all the conversations you've had. Think about where they all met their demise, your relationships, that is, and understanding that it was just a new face, same flawed process, same predictive outcome, just the way it is. Because there is a process. We all have a process, but there is an overall process that we should go through based on how we are going to make decisions. Deciding to be with someone long term is a series of complex decisions over an extended period of time. And that process can be years. So if you think, okay, Grandison, how much time do I have to allocate to this 7 gates to really get to the point where I can say yes? Well, that depends on you, depends on her. For some, I would say at least, if I had to put a number on it, I would say at least a year. Because there are going to be some opportunities that you must go through so that their values, their habits, and their behaviors rise to the surface. And you can't see that if it's covered just by the looks. And if you're so enthralled by someone's looks, you're going to miss the red flag when it's waving right there in your face. I've done that, been there, done that when I was younger. First marriage, not doing that again. Married now, got the right one. The 7 gates, all good, apropos, it works. Giving it to someone else, try this, make sure you do this, boom, it works. So there's action items and a series of questions and even checklists in that book, that guide that I was telling you about, that takes you through this entire process so that you can make the right selection. Letting gate number 1 do the job of evaluation guarantees you will recycle the exact same outcome, which is relationship demise. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. So what actually determines the long-term success of a relationship starts at gate number 2, which we were talking about in the next video. And I'll be playing the video like I did this go around. Sometimes I will, and again, sometimes I won't. Sometimes I'll dive right into it. Sometimes oftentimes you can always go to social media and see it there. So remember, if you want to understand and start working through the 7 gates process, if you're in a phase of dating right now, you need to get this book right here. You need to get the ebook, download it today, legalprestigeGentleman.com/7 gates, and make sure you grab your copy and start taking your significant or chosen, possibly your tentative potential significant other through this process. And it's about you making the decisions as you're going along. Make sure you make the right observations. Follow us on social media. You can definitely follow us here on YouTube, but also make sure you follow us on TikTok, Instagram. We do have a Facebook page as well. The Facebook page is for men and women. The private group is just for men. All the other social mediums, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, also public for men and women. We'll be posting information. All right. Thank you very much, folks. Grandison Shine signing out. Also follow us on our platform or our channel that we have on Spotify. Talk to you later, folks. Bye.